Now we will be practicing standing position and walking later. So I would like to invite you to watch your mind, intention to stand up. Intention to stand up. So initiating yourself to stand up. Intending to stand. Intending to stand. Intending to stand. And slowly, mentally telling you all the movements as standing, standing, standing. So slowly be mindful of all your muscle changes, leg changes, hand changes, your body changes. And meanwhile, you are reciting as you see the body changes. So standing, bending, kneeling, just mindfully standing, 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 and standing. And then walk mindfully towards the walking path. So as you're standing, sometimes you may have to adjust your body parts, or your robes, your clothes. Then again, in this moment, mindfully adjusting it. And further on, I would like to show you that after you have stand, normally our hands will be like this. And then we shouldn't be putting together immediately. We have to use one hand after another. So it's like there's a left hand coming. And then the right hand coming and placing like this. So never do like this in a practice. And then when we are adjusting our robes or our clothes, rather than doing like this, so immediately we have to do it very mindfully as we stand up. So we need to adjust our robe or clothes, then use our right hand. So sending our attention to the right hand, bringing, touching, rolling, catching, lifting, adjusting, lowering, and now keeping the hands together. So slowly, one hand after another, coming up to the front, and then on top. So this is how to be ready. And after that, as you have fully stand up, and again checking your legs. If your legs are too far away, then this is not good. If too far away, then it makes you a little bit tired. And if it's too close together, then again it makes you wobbly. Okay, so making sure that you are standing in a very comfortable, only a couple of inches apart, and that gives you a firm standing. When you are firmly standing, then it gives you a lot of stability. And with this, now you have firmly stand up, observing the standing position. And as you're observing the standing position, observing the entire body, and mentally making a note of it. Standing, here, as you say standing, there will be a different ways of doing. Some masters will tell you to observe from top to bottom, bottom to top. Some would say that when you say stand, from top to the halfway through, and then from half to the bottom, or bottom to the halfway through, and from the half to the bottom, to the half to the top, like that. In the meanwhile, some would say, as you say, the first standing, observing the entire body. Standing, observing the entire body. So the entire body that you are observing. Okay? So standing, observing the entire body for 3 times. At least for 3 times. You may do a little more, but 3 times is quite enough to gain the concentration. So standing, so let's start from here. Standing, standing, standing. And in the walking meditation, furthermore, we have to initiate ourselves from one posture to the another, or one movement to the another movement. And in this case, we have to initiate and say, intending to walk, or I intend to walk. So intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. And with this, you are shifting your attention to the right foot. And this is the first stage of walking meditation. So right foot, and then you, as you lift, right, as you say right, you are lifting, and right goes first. Some would say right push first, or right pushing, or right stepping. So whichever way you like to do. Okay? So right goes first. It needs to synchronize as you lift. Right goes first. Left goes first. Left goes first. Right goes first. Left goes first. Right goes first. Left goes first. And the last step, right goes first. At the last step, the moment it comes to the end of the pathway, you're bringing your foot together. And again, after you have stood, standing. Standing.
ให้ใส่หมดเลยเหรอแต่มีแต่ส่งมาชื่อมาให้อ่ะก๊อปได้เลยหรือจะให้ทำอันนี้
Standing.
จะแยกแต่มันไม่ครบอ่ะรออาจารย์อรุณส่งมาให้ใหม่เนี่ยมันจะมีวันที่ใส่มาด้วยเลยดีกว่าใส่เลยใช่ไหม
Now, intention to turn. Intending to turn. Initiating yourself with the intention that you want to turn. Intending to turn. Intending to turn. Intending to turn. In a turning point, again, there are 3 sets of 6 moves. And here again, we have to make sure that we are turning in 3 sets of 6 moves. So, turning, 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 and that completes the complete turn. And after the complete turning, you're standing here, Pay attention to the standing position. As you stand, bring your attention to observe the entire body. And mentally make a note. Standing, standing, standing. And again, initiating yourself to practice the walking meditation by saying, intending to walk. So mentally, preparing yourself to start walking meditation. Intending to walk. Intending to walk. Intending to walk. Now send your attention to the right foot. You're still practicing the first stage of the walking meditation. As you send your attention to the right foot, in, right goes thus. Each thus you have to stop completely and your left foot hasn't been moved. In, left goes thus. Right goes thus. 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 Left goes thus. Last step. Right goes thus. Always remember that the last step, keeping the foot together. And if you needed any adjustment, you can be mindful before moving it or adjusting. And again, standing, 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 initiating yourself to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, mindfully turning 3 pairs of 6 loops. Turning, 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 turning. Standing, 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 intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking. Right goes thus. Left goes thus. 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 Last step. Right goes thus. Standing, 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 intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, turning, 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 standing, standing, standing. I will walk the second stage of the walking meditation, that is lifting, placing. Once again, initiate yourself, intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking, lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. Making sure that as you lift, you're making a mental note, and as you place, making sure that it's synchronized, placing, lifting, 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 placing, standing, 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 initiating yourself to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn. Start turning, 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 standing, 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 initiating yourself to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking, lifting, placing. Before lifting another leg or another foot, making sure you're stuck completely. Lifting, placing. 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 Standing, 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 intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn. Start turning, 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 standing, standing, standing. Initiate yourself to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking in level 2, lifting, placing, making sure that when you are lifting, you're saying lifting, when you're placing, you're saying placing. So lifting, placing, 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 standing, 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 intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, turning, 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 standing, 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 intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking, lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. So continue practicing on your own, continuously as you move, making sure that you are mindful. As you lift, synchronize with your mental note of lifting, and as you place, synchronize with the placing, as you say in your mind. And meanwhile, if any thoughts arises, if possible, watching the thought and stopping, and again continue walking. Not watching, not looking or anything. You need to restrain your senses and looking at only about 30 degrees ahead, and not looking at your feet too. Lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. Last step. Standing, 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 intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, turning, 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 standing, standing, standing. Now next we will practice the third stage of a walking meditation, and that is lifting, moving, placing. So lifting, moving, placing. As you lift your foot, mentally make a note lifting, and as the foot moves forward, making a mental note of moving forward, and as you're placing, making a mental note of placing. There needs a lot of slow motion and making sure that you are mindful of the movements, an ability to distinguish between mind and the matter, the knower and the object that is moving. So first of all, let's practice the standing position. The standing, 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 intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking, lifting, moving, placing, 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 lifting, moving, placing. Last step. Lifting, moving, placing. Standing, standing, standing. Initiate yourself to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, intending to turn, turning, 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 turning. Standing, 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 intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Start walking, lifting, moving, placing, lifting, moving, placing, lifting, moving, placing, lifting, moving, placing. 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 Last step. Lifting, moving, placing. Standing, standing, standing. Intending to turn. Intending to turn. Intending to turn. Turning, 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 standing, 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 intending to walk, intending to walk, intending to walk. Mindfully as you walk towards your seat, lifting, moving, placing, 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 lifting, moving, placing. And once you arrived in your sitting position, before sitting, again standing, 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 standing. Now initiating your sitting posture, initiating yourself or telling your mind that I want to sit down. So intending to sit, intending to sit, intending to sit. Now slowly bending yourself and taking your seat. So lowering, 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 kneeling, kneeling, kneeling. Or simply knowing every movement that you are moving as you sit down. And adjusting your hands, adjusting your foot, adjusting your body. Every little move, try to be mindful of it. It comes in the Sampajanya Pabba in Satipatthana as well. Yatha yathanam kayasa panihito tatha tathanam pajanati. Whichever your body posture is in it, you're mindful of it. And slowly adjusting your hands. So bringing your hand in your lap. First right hand, so first left hand, slowly lifting from your knees towards your lap, and then the right hand lifting slowly put on top of the left hand. So right hand on top of the left hand and relax. Ujjung kayang panidhaya. So keeping your back straight, the whole body is straight. So Ujjung kayang panidhaya. So your back is straight and your mind is completely in the moment here and then. Sating parimukham upattapetawa. So bring your attention or mindfulness to the front of yourself. And that moment, you're paying attention to the breath, incoming breath, outgoing breath. It changes in your stomach, the abdomen rises and falls. Now bring your attention to pay this rising and falling of movement. And as it rises, making a mental note, rising. As it falls, making a mental note, it is falling, as I have explained yesterday. So rising, falling. You need to relax it. As it rises, knowing that it is rising. As it falls, you know that it is falling. You have to come to face with it. Your mind is fully aware of this rising and falling of abdomen. There is not wobbliness, there is no blur of this rising and falling of abdomen. You know exactly as it rises and as it falls. Whatever the phenomena is there, you're mindful of it. Do not force yourself or do not regulate the breath to see it too. And as your mindfulness becomes stronger and sharper, you will realize the other phenomena that arises along with it. As you're paying attention to the rising and falling of abdomen, whenever any other phenomena arises, these other phenomena are secondary objects, which we will pay very little attention to. We will simply welcome, know it, and let go. So observing, acknowledging, noting, and let go. If that's the thought, observing that the thought has a reason, acknowledging that your mind is observing this thought, and making a mental note, thinking, 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 and let go. Now come back to the primary object, which is the rising and falling of abdomen. So rising, falling. As you breathe in, it rises, making sure you're consciously aware of it and making a mental note of it. Rising. As you breathe out, abdomen falls and making sure that you're consciously aware of it and making a mental note that falling. And as your mind composed and become calm, you will realize that before the rising or before the falling, there is a gap in between. You will be able to recognize that. And quite often our mind drifts away in that very moment. So we can extend further, one more, to pay attention to its rising, falling, touching. Rising, falling, touching. As you develop your awareness, quite often it's very common that we think that I am causing it to happen, rising, falling, touching. In that case, take away that effort. Take away that I am doing, but be I am observer. I'm simply observing it. And with this observation, this phenomena, you will be able to recognize the mind matter, the body, and the mind which is observing. You'll be able to recognize the phenomena of it. It's not abstract, but the phenomena that we are observing. It's a rising, falling. And each time when you observe correctly with the right method and the right technique and with the right attitude, you will be able to recognize the mind and the matter very clearly. The object that you are observing is a rupa, the matter. And the sensation is a breeze to see it. And as you see, you perceive the sanya comes in that this is this and this is that. And the sankhara, the proliferation begins, the identification begins, and you are knowing it. So all the panchakhanda becomes clear. 5 aggregates becomes very clear in each one noting. So rising, falling. Thoughts arise, thinking, thinking, thinking. There will be a temptation, giving up meditation, playing the mobile phones, or desire to do works, or desire to look at somebody, desire to talk to someone, or desire not to practice. These are all thoughts. So we have to use the atapi, the urgently not allowing mind to do any other jobs apart from paying attention to it itself, the thought itself. There will be a discomfort as you are sitting. You want to move, then don't move it yet. Watch it, watching that desire, watching that sensation. Making a mental note of that sensation. Oh, this is the heat, this is discomfort. And there is a mind that wants to move. There's desire, thinking, noticing that very closely. And if it's necessary that you have to move it, then gently, again initiating yourself that intention to move, intention to move. And then slowly as you move, moving, or changing, like that. So that's each moment when you make a mental note, the 5 aggregates fulfills. I call it hitting the nail in a perfect time. So it penetrates through the wood. You may want to scratch because of the itchiness. Do not do it yet. Watching that thought of a scratching, or the sensation of a scratch, and making a mental note that this thought of a scratching or itchiness to begin, itchy. And then if that's too far away, then a thought arises, a thought of the itching, the scratching, thinking. And then most of the time it goes away. But if it's really necessary, again, initiating yourself, intending to change, intending to scratch, and so on. And slowly doing it with mindfulness. One thing what we have to be mindful here, furthermore, is that when we are making a mental note, we are not making a mental note to let it disappear. We shouldn't have the thought of thinking made it disappear. We are not making a mental note of it to disappear it. We are making a mental note to know it, see it, understand it. And eventually it will go away. And that going away is simply because you have fully understood. You have fully understood the phenomena and it has to go. So letting go is not what you want to let it go, but it happens after you have fully understood the natural phenomena. You will be able to understand that nothing remains the same. There's no permanent, it changes. And that is the beginning of attainment of a real knowledge. Vipassana begins. So Vipassana is the result of our practice of a Satipatthana. As we pay attention to the body, feeling, mind and the phenomena, the moment when we understood the natural phenomena as it changes, then Vipassana begins. So rising, falling, falling. Remember, rising and falling of abdomen is just the initial base or a platform that we are sitting on to see other things, other natural phenomena. And we are using this platform as a base, as a home base, where our mind will take a refuge all the time. Our mind always needs an object. Without an object, our mind doesn't exist. So in order to understand the natural phenomena, it has to have an object. So we're using that as an object. So that's why it is known as primary object. So paying attention to it as you breathe in, rising, as you breathe out, falling. So rising, falling. Rising, falling. Now we're going to end our practice. So be mindful of your entire body and bringing your attention to your own thought that I'm going to end this practice. So intention to end, and bring that attention to your eyes, feeling the eyes, the sensation around in your eyes, an intention to open your eyes. So intending to open your eyes, and slowly, with a very mindfulness, you're opening your eyes. Opening your eyes. And then as soon as you open your eyes, again, whatever you see, if you are on a retreat, you're supposed to be mindful of the seeing, and then continue your daily life. So, this is how you continue practice, and you can continue further practicing. So, thank you. I will end here for today's practice. And wish you all the best and continue practicing. 3 days remain, 4 days remained, and genuinely and diligently practicing, fulfilling these 3 principles, Atapi, Sampajano, Satima, so that we will gain further, deeper understanding of the meditation and ability to understand the Nama and Rupa completely, and eventually will be able to eradicate all the asavas. With this, wish you all the best and thank you. Sadhu.